a few minutes, which says, following further evaluation this morning, the Queen's doctors are concerned for Her Majesty's health.
Just moments ago, Buckingham Palace broke its silence, issuing an urgent and deeply emotional statement about Princess Catherine's health. The entire nation has been left stunned. What happened to the Princess of Wales? Why did the palace remain silent for so long? And what does this mean for the royal family right now? In today's breaking update, we're diving into everything the palace has just confirmed the reaction from Prince William, and what insiders are revealing behind closed doors. Stay with me until the end, because the details emerging tonight are both heartbreaking and hopeful. If you care about the princess and the truth behind the headlines, hit that subscribe button and let's uncover what's really happening inside. Buckingham Palace. Breaking news shocks the nation. It was just past noon when the news broke. Television screens across the United Kingdom suddenly flashed red banners' urgent statement from Buckingham Palace. At first, no one knew what it meant. Was it about the king? A sudden security threat? But within moments, anchors confirmed the unthinkable. This statement was about Princess Catherine. Phones buzzed, group chats filled with speculation, and social media timelines erupted. The palace rarely issues statements without warning, and when it does, it's almost always serious. Royal reporters rushed onto live broadcasts. Reading the short but chilling announcement word for word, viewers listened in disbelief. As the statement confirmed that the Princess of Wales was facing a serious health matter, that single phrase, serious health matter, was all it took to send shockwaves through the world. No details were given. No diagnosis, no photographs. Just a brief assurance that she was receiving the best possible care and that Prince William was by her side. But the silence between the lines spoke louder than the words themselves. In London, outside the gates of Buckingham Palace, crowds began to gather within minutes. Tourists stood shoulder to shoulder with longtime royal supporters, all trying to process what they had just heard. Many carried flowers, while others simply stood in silence, looking up at the palace windows as if waiting for a sign of reassurance. Reporters described the mood as heavy, almost sacred. One journalist said, "You can feel it in the air, the concern, the fear, and the love for her." Meanwhile, online platforms nearly crashed under the weight of global reaction. The hashtag Pray for Catherine shot to the top of worldwide trends within an hour. Inside Buckingham Palace, the situation was tense but controlled. Staff were instructed not to speak to the media. Senior aides coordinated closely with Kensington Palace, where Prince William and the children were staying. Behind closed doors, there was genuine fear, but also a deep determination to maintain privacy and dignity. For royal watchers, this was an unprecedented moment. Catherine, the figure of grace and steadiness within the modern monarchy, had always seemed untouchable. Her smile, her composure, her devotion to duty. She embodied everything the royal family wanted to represent in a new generation. By evening, the palace gates were surrounded by media vans, camera lights flickering against the iron bars. Still, there were no further updates, only the echo of that phrase. Repeated across every news outlet, a serious health matter. The shock was total. Across Britain, and indeed across the world, people held their breath. Something was happening inside Buckingham Palace that few truly understood, and for the first time in years, the royal silence felt louder than words. This wasn't just another headline. This was the beginning of a story that would test the heart of the monarchy and the courage of the princess herself. Days of growing concern before Buckingham Palace ever said a word. The signs were already there. For weeks, royal watchers and journalists noticed something unusual. Princess Catherine had quietly disappeared from public view. No new photos, no royal appearances, no updates on her schedule. As days turned into weeks, quiet concern began to grow into unease. It started subtly. An engagement Catherine was expected to attend was suddenly cancelled. Then another. Soon, even the palace press office began responding to inquiries with the same vague line. The princess will not be attending due to personal reasons. Meanwhile, eagle-eyed fans who follow royal schedules noticed that Prince William had been unusually quiet too. He postponed appearances, declined interviews, and was seen leaving Windsor, looking visibly tense. Paparazzi caught brief glimpses of him entering private medical facilities, his face composed but distant. When asked if Catherine was unwell, aides gave no response. only tight smiles and quick exits. Royal correspondents began connecting the dots. Something was wrong. For decades, the monarchy has followed an unspoken rule: never explain, never complain. It's a tradition meant to preserve dignity. But in moments like this, it only fuels the anxiety of a nation. By the end of the second week, social media was swirling with rumors. Some claimed she was recovering from exhaustion. Others whispered about something far more serious. Conspiracy theories filled comment sections. Every silence from the palace felt heavier than the last. Loyal supporters pleaded for honesty. "We don't need details," one message read. "Just tell us she's okay." Even within royal circles, concern was growing. Palace staff described a quieter tone in the halls, fewer smiles, fewer public meetings. Senior aides were reportedly instructed to minimize press exposure. Then came the moment that confirmed everyone's worst fears. The family's traditional Christmas appearance was altered. For the first time in years, Catherine was absent. William attended with the children, smiling politely for the cameras, but his eyes told a different story. After the service, he left quickly, declining all questions. Still, no official explanation came. Days passed, and Britain continued to speculate. Morning shows debated, tabloids printed guesses, and the public prayed. Everyone felt the same tension, that something serious was unfolding behind palace gates, and no one knew how much longer the silence would last. By the time the palace finally broke that silence, it was already too late for calm reassurance. The world had sensed the truth long before the announcement arrived. The growing concern had turned into fear, and all that remained was hope. Hope that the coming statement would bring answers, not heartbreak, activity behind palace walls. While the public speculated something far more serious was unfolding inside the royal residences. Behind the gilded gates of Buckingham and Kensington Palace, movement had quietly intensified. Cars with tinted windows began arriving at unusual hours. Security patrols doubled, and several trusted medical specialists were seen entering through private service doors entrances, normally reserved for senior aides. Meetings were abruptly rescheduled. Public appearances delayed. Couriers were spotted carrying sealed envelopes marked private and confidential. Senior palace officials who usually exuded composure now appeared tense, avoiding eye contact in corridors. Something urgent was happening, something too delicate to expose. Even the palace press office, known for its strict professionalism, seemed unsettled. Calls from journalists were politely deflected. One insider later revealed, "We were told to say as little as possible." The situation was described as fluid, which, in palace terms, means everyone's holding their breath. Meanwhile, Prince William had cleared his calendar completely. Witnesses spotted him entering a private London hospital multiple times, escorted by discreet security. Each sighting deepened the mystery. Was Catherine being treated in secret? Was this merely precaution, or a response to something far more severe? No one outside the inner circle could say for certain. Staff at Kensington Palace described a haunting, quiet, the usual rhythm of royal life, the footsteps of assistants, the chatter of planners. The clicks of photographers had slowed to near silence. At the same time, the royal family began to rally in subtle but unmistakable ways. Queen Camilla quietly canceled a charity appearance. King Charles postponed a private meeting abroad. Princess Anne took on additional engagements to keep public focus steady. It was as if the entire monarchy had silently shifted to protect one of its most beloved members. Outside, royal correspondents grew restless. Helicopters hovered above Kensington Gardens, hoping for a glimpse of movement. Cameramen stationed near the gates described an increase in private deliveries, boxes, flowers, and sealed containers arriving under heavy guard. Then came one small but telling moment. A staff member was overheard telling a visitor, "She's resting." But it's been difficult. That single sentence spread like wildfire. For the first time, the world realized this was no matter of scheduling or fatigue. This was real. This was deeply human. Inside those historic walls, the mood had shifted from quiet concern to controlled urgency. Staff worked tirelessly, but spoke only in whispers. The royal press office drafted multiple versions of a statement and tore each one up again. Every word mattered. Every tone could send shockwaves across the nation. By the end of that week, one truth had become undeniable. The palace could not stay silent forever. The public deserved answers, and the moment of revelation was drawing closer. Behind those closed doors, history itself was preparing to speak. The official palace statement, and then it finally happened. After weeks of speculation, silence, and endless questions from the public, Buckingham Palace broke its silence. Breaking, Buckingham Palace issues urgent update on the health of the Princess of Wales. The world froze. Every major network paused its regular programming. Cameras refocused, anchors straightened, and within seconds, the royal spokesperson appeared before the microphones. The statement was brief, but it carried unmistakable gravity. In calm yet solemn tones, the spokesperson read aloud, "Her Royal Highness, the Princess of Wales, has been receiving medical care for a condition that recently required extended treatment and observation. The princess is now in stable condition and continues to be monitored by her medical team. The Prince of Wales remains by her side. No further details, no diagnosis, no timeline, no mention of the hospital, but for millions." The silence between those lines spoke louder than the words themselves. The palace requested privacy as the princess focused on her recovery. It was a respectful appeal, yet it instantly raised more questions than it answered. What had required such secrecy? What had kept Catherine away from public view for so long? Why had even senior aides been so visibly tense in recent weeks? Within minutes, social media erupted. The hashtag #PrayForCatherine began trending worldwide. Messages of love and support poured in from every corner of the globe. Fans gathered outside Buckingham Palace with flowers and handwritten notes. Many recalled her strength, her grace under pressure, her years of quiet dedication to family and charity. Others simply stood in silence, watching the palace gates, waiting for any further sign. Inside the royal press room, reporters pressed for clarity. Is this a long-term illness? Will she return to public duties this year? Why was this announcement delayed? Behind the scenes, insiders revealed that Prince William personally reviewed the statement before its release. He insisted on clarity, but also protection. He wanted the world to know she was safe, yet refused to open the door to speculation or intrusion. "She's my wife and the mother of our children," one close aide quoted him as saying, "The world can wait. Her health comes first." The official statement, calm and measured as it was, carried emotional weight that even palace decorum couldn't conceal. It marked a rare moment when the monarchy's centuries-old veil of privacy lifted, revealing the fragility of human life behind the crown. By evening, the crowds outside the palace had grown. Candles flickered. Television crews broadcast live well into the night. The royal household, usually so composed, now stood at the center of global empathy and concern. And as the world watched the palace, lights glowing against the London sky, one thing became certain. This story was far from over. The next update could change everything. The public reaction and media frenzy. The moment Buckingham Palace released its urgent statement, the world seemed to stop and then explode. Within minutes, every major news network had cut to live coverage. Anchors spoke in hushed, urgent tones. The words "urgent statement" and "Princess Catherine's health" dominated screens from London to Los Angeles. Some gasped. Others clasped their hands in prayer. Within an hour, what began as a handful of bystanders turned into hundreds. News vans lined the streets, and reporters began broadcasting. Social media became a global prayer chain. Hashtags like #PrayForCatherine, #RoyalUpdate, and #StayStrongPrincess filled timelines. Posts flooded in photos of Catherine smiling at charity events, videos of her comforting children, quotes she'd shared about resilience and faith. Fans wrote heartfelt messages. "The world needs your grace, Catherine. You've carried yourself with dignity. Now let us carry you in our prayers." Commentators, analysts, and self-proclaimed insiders began dissecting every word of the palace's statement. Some claimed it was simply precautionary. Others warned it pointed to something much more serious. If the palace used the term urgent, it suggests this was not routine. One royal correspondent said on live television, theories multiplied. Was it stress-related? A complication from an earlier surgery? Or something the public had never been told about? Every hour brought a new wave of guesses, and with it, a fresh layer of unease. Meanwhile, members of the public left flowers, cards, and candles outside Buckingham and Kensington Palace. Among them were children, young mothers, Elderly couples, people who had never met Catherine, yet felt deeply connected to her warmth and humility. "She's more than a princess," one woman told a BBC reporter through tears. "She's the heart of the modern royal family." News outlets scrambled for clarification, but palace aides remained. Every unanswered question fueled more headlines. The next morning, front pages were drenched in royal blue and gold. Catherine's photos framed by words like hope, fear, and mystery. In the midst of it all, Prince William was seen briefly leaving Windsor, his car surrounded by flashing cameras. He didn't wave. He didn't wave.
You can almost feel the judge trying not to roll his eyes. Pierce proudly says he's studied law by reading case codes and sending letters. This is textbook sovereign citizen behavior, confident, articulate, but completely detached from reality. He thinks because he's read enough online, he now understands constitutional loopholes that will get him out of murder charges. But law isn't about what you think the Constitution means. It's about what the courts have decided it means. And the courts have been crystal clear. No one gets to opt out of jurisdiction just by claiming a new nationality. Still, the judge lets him talk, not to humor him, but to build a record showing Pierce was fully warned. That way, when this falls apart, the court's hands are clean. Here's the Sovereign Citizen Starter Pack: executive letters, affidavits of truth, and certified mail, all filled with random legal words that sound official but mean absolutely nothing. To the untrained eye, it looks impressive. To an actual court, it's gibberish. Judges see this all the time, as they call it paper terrorism, overwhelming the system with meaningless filings in hopes of confusing it. But courts don't run on imagination. They run on statutes, precedent, and facts. What Pierce is really doing is proving he doesn't understand the most basic principle of defense: that paperwork can't stop evidence. And the evidence against him? Overwhelming.